Hey there, true believers. You're tuned into Baxter Building Radio via the Negative Zone feed. Welcome to episode 57 of the Fantastic Four Fancast. My name is Nate Charles. I'm your host. And as always, I am joined by my co host, the ever loving blue eyed Shane Murray. Shane, how are you tonight?
Tired. I tried to see how it was going to be to do some stuff. So I went out, left the house this morning about 8 o'clock, and we got back about 2 o'clock. No, a little bit before 2 o'clock. And I proceeded to fall asleep almost immediately afterwards. So Monday going back to work is going to be something else.
Hey, ease yourself back into it. You're on restricted duty starting on Monday, correct?
Yeah, but I also have a CAT scan after work, so I have to be there for 8 hours and then no food or drink for 5 or 6 hours before that, and then go get a CAT scan. It's going to be a long day Monday.
Sounds like it, man. Well, wishing you the best of luck with all of that.
What about you? You had a busy day or something?
I went around and got things for my next cosplay that I'm working on. I think I've made mention of it on the show before, but I'm a big fan of James Robinson and Tony Harris's 1990s Starman series from DC, and I've decided that my next suit that I'm putting together is the Jack Knight Starman. So it's not super hard. You just need a button down and some jeans and some boots, but then after that, you need to put a logo on the back of a jacket and maybe 3D print a couple things, build a cosmic staff. So, need to get some supplies for that. That was largely how I spent my day.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I hope to have that ready in the next couple weeks, as I'm one of those smart people who wants to go wear a leather jacket in July in the middle of San Diego. So,
Sure, you do that, bud. I would never. But yeah, I don't really think I have anything else. Tomorrow I go see the big boys. That's my I'll talk about that next week when I get to see them in person.
what do you mean the big boys?
The Union Pacific has a big boy, which is a train. It's the largest steam engine that was made and pulls freight. They still have one that's in active use out west. So what they did for the 250th anniversary is they brought it out east, and they're doing a little tour of the East Coast with it. And one is parked up in Steamtown with its sister who's retired. So the 4012, which is permanently parked in Steamtown, but it got repainted back in like 21, has the 4014 parked in it. So that came from out west and it parked there on Monday. So I have my time slot that I'm allowed to be there tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and I'll get to see the take some pictures of the two trains side by side and see some Union Pacific cars, which we don't really get to see out here on the East Coast too often.
Oh, that actually sounds very cool. Hope you enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I have to park. You have to like walk into Steamtown, so I have to park like elsewhere and walk in. So I'm gonna park above Bartiari and then cross and then go over that way.
You gonna have lunch there at Bartari?
Probably not. Just because I don't know with things after being out of work for so long. We'll probably grab some quick food on the way home. Or I might just grab stuff to grill.
Well, you know who else was doing some grilling, Shane?
Um, Batman?
No, Ben Grimm. And by grilling, I mean grilling people for information in today's comic. What are we covering this time around, Shane?
We're covering the thing. Was this volume four, number one?
That is correct. Cover dated for July of 2025 and released on May 21st of 2025 with a cover price of $4.99. We don't cover a lot of recent releases, Shane, but the cool thing about this series is that it takes place in the past of the Marvel Universe. What in our time period would probably be about the mid 80s, wouldn't you say?
Probably. It seems like that.
This time around, I unfortunately don't have a Shane showcase for you. Wasn't really able to find any real differences in prices, so we are going to let that slide. But there's some other stuff we can talk about here. Our creative team for today's issue is writer Tony Fleece, penciler Justin Mason, who also is the inker on this book. Colorist was Alex Sinclair. Lettering was taken care of by Virtual Calligraphy's Joe Caramanga. Editor was Darren Shan, and editor in chief C.B. Sobolski. Would you like to hear a synopsis of today's book, sir?
Sure, I would love to hear a synopsis of today's book.
Well, you are in luck because Marvel Unlimited has us covered. The Thing clobbers the Marvel Universe. Ben Grimm may be the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, but once upon a time, he was just a scrawny kid from Yancy Street. When an unexpected visitor from his past sends him on a search for a missing child, the Thing must unravel the mystery, even if that means becoming a wanted man. Get ready to see the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing versus every superpowered criminal and bounty hunter in New York City. Writer Tony Fleece, Stray Dogs, and artist Justin Mason give a glimpse into the history of the Thing that reminds you why Ben Grimm is the heart of the Marvel Universe and why you don't want to let him hear you say that. So I want to say that was the actual solicit from Marvel Previews. Cannot confirm it, or have not confirmed it rather, but I want to say that was the Marvel Previews solicit.
Yeah, it wouldn't quite do this issue any justice as a synopsis, but it does do the series justice as a synopsis.
Very true. Very true. So, our primary cover for this issue was done by artist Nick Bradshaw and colorist Rochelle Rosenberg. Shane, would you like to take us through that cover, please?
Yeah. So you have Ben jumping into panel, one fist out, coming out towards you, one fist back. You have, oh my gosh, you have so many villains on this cover. You have Bullseye, the Blob, one of the Wreckers, Juggernaut. I'm not sure who this dude, the one underneath the Blob is.
So, that would be Jigsaw.
Okay. And then who's the bear guy?
Grizzly?
Grizzly? I mean, fair enough. That's on point, I guess. Um, I'm not sure who this one is coming over his shoulder.
The one that he is obviously throwing out of the way with like the red face.
Yeah.
That's Sidewinder.
Okay. And I can't really get a good glimpse on Unlimited through who else is in this. Is that Rhino all the way up in the top corner there?
Yes, and they're behind Ben's fist and with her hand over Ben's shoulder. It looks like she's kind of riding on his back. That's Princess Python. And down below Sidewinder, but above Bullseye, is Diamondback. And then right above Grizzly in Ben's armpit is Gladiator.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, this is a cool cover. It just has a lot going on and really random villains.
But yeah, Ben versus a whole army of villains, and he's holding his own. I'll say he's missing a couple chunks out of himself, though, Shane.
Yeah, this happens on I think another one of the covers that there's like there's little pieces of Ben missing, I think. That seems to be part of this series, if I remember correctly.
One thing that I have not heard you talk about yet is the tagline for this series, Shane.
Oh, the world's greatest clobberin magazine. I mean, it is a good clobberin magazine.
This is a good examination of Ben's character. Speaking of more clobbering, would you like to take us through the first variant cover, which was done by artist Marco Checheco and colorist Mauricio Menez?
This one has Ben's hand coming to the forefront, Ben having something lifted behind his head, some kind of stone that has like an eye beam coming out of it with really weird fingers. They come to points and they're th real thin. I don't like this hand at all. But the shading and the coloring is really pretty on this. It's just that hand is weird.
Yeah, I noticed that too, honestly. I mean, that's my only complaint about the cover. The rest of it is just gorgeous. If those fingers were just a little thicker, I think I'd be absolutely over the moon with this one.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a claw from like a grab machine.
And then we have cover C, which was done by artist Greg Land and also colored again by Rochelle Rosenberg.
So this one, you have Ben staring, it looks like he's staring up into the sky, side profile, and then Next to his head, you have a headshot of like a bunch of different villains from Fantastic Four history. You have what? Galactus, Mole Man, Doom, Annihilus. Is that Claw in the middle
That
there?
is Claw.
And then who's the dude with the Wolverine?
That is Diablo.
That's a really weird looking Diablo. Okay. Super Scroll, Medusa. Who's the guy with just the red helmet?
That is the Trapster, aka Paste Pot Pete.
Okay. Then the green mask is from me.
Sandman.
Interesting.
That was the Jack Kirby redesign of Sandman.
All right, so Sandman. Then the two to the right, I am not 100% positive on.
Dragon Man and the Wizard.
That's a really weird dragon man.
But yeah, that entire lower right corner is dedicated to members of the Frightful Four. And finally, we have our last variant cover. This one was completely done by Benjamin Sue.
Oh,
Take us through that.
yeah, this one is like Ben on the lighter side. He's got like a little smile on his face and a cup of Joe and doing his best Cinderella impersonation with all of the birds around him, and three birds are bringing him a little heart that they made out of flowers, and it says it has a nice little Yancy Street sign, and the squirrels and the raccoon, they're all just so happy to see Ben Grimm. They all have little smiles on their face. It's just cute and adorable.
So, Shane, you walk into comic book store and you have your choice of these covers when you're picking up this series. Which one are you going for?
If they would have had this, I would have probably bought this because I would have tried to get my daughter to read this series by using that cover.
Yeah, that Benjamin Sue cover is actually referred to as the window shades variant. So you would have gone for the Benjamin Sue's work here, which
Yeah,
yeah,
but I
no
think
judgment.
I picked this up later, so I ended up with the cover A.
I also picked up the cover A. I'm a sucker for Nick Bradshaw's artwork, quite frankly. And just the impact that you see with Ben charging through all of these villains, like it's a sight to behold. So I mean, out of all of them, I do like the land cover a lot as well, but I would have gone for cover A, which is what I got. Well, regardless of the cover, they all have the same book inside. So we open that up and we are greeted with the caption that reads, 4.5 hours from now. And we see the lower half of a man's face. He has a mustache and he's holding a radio up to his mouth. And he says, "Good news, true believers. Word on the street is that somebody's mad, real mad at a certain rocky blue-eyed monster. Any bruisers and boppers out there think you've got the juice to take out Yancy Street's finest? You'd better find him fast. Because whoever can make the thing fall apart first is looking at a fat payday. How fat? How about 10 million? My goodness, someone wants this guy bad. So who's it gonna be, tough guys?" And we see there's a few people listening in on this broadcast who are interested. And who are they, Shane?
So we have the Wrecking Crew in the second panel, and what is that, the Serpent Society in the fourth panel?
That is correct, yes. As far as the Serpent Society goes here, you have from left to right Anaconda, Cottonmouth, Cobra, Precious, Boomslang, and Death Adder. Here's a little interesting tidbit of information, Shane, because Serpent Society are foes of Captain America. So, of course, I know all about them for the most part. This iteration of the Serpent Society doesn't actually exist. When you're trying to place this in a time frame, this actually makes it a little difficult because like many of these members just have not served alongside of each other in the society. They've either left or joined later or were killed off. There's just some of these characters that don't overlap. So it's one of those things that makes this miniseries just a tad hard to place in continuity.
Maybe it's just an Elseworlds book.
I would hope not. This is a really fun series. And our broadcaster continues by saying, Which one of you is strong enough to stop a quarter ton of rampaging rock? And we turn the page to a double page spread where we are greeted with the negative zone 4.5 hours earlier. And what are we seeing here, Shane?
We are seeing the Fantastic Four fighting a space octopus.
And that space octopus is making one heck of a racket.
Scree!
And Johnny is roasting the top of its head while Reed is stretching around its tentacles and throwing a punch at its face. Ben is wrapped up in one of its tentacles, trying to get back control of his own body, and he says, "Hey, these space squids are getting stronger, right? Huh. I don't know from science. I'm just a schlub from the neighborhood who got bombarded by cosmic rays and turned into a colossal rocky monster. Ugh. But it feels like this guy is tougher than the average Fantastic Four foe." And Sue is floating in space and is projecting force fields towards this creature, says, "Benjamin, please. You're just holding back again. Maybe this time we try skipping over the self-doubt and just jump right to clobbering time. Keep it up, Sue. Pummeling the alpha mollusk with your invisible force field seems to be slowing it down. Everybody knows there's nothing in the universe tougher than the ever-loving blue-eyed thing." And Ben gets himself loose from the alpha mollusk's tentacle and floats towards its face and catches it with a punch right on its snout.
Cthulhu.
"What do you mean, self-doubt?" And he lands a right cross on this creature.
Boom.
"I'm brimming with confidence. Nobody's got more self-esteem than Aunt Petunia's favorite." And the alpha mollusk decides that it's going to chime in and says, "Disgusting rock heap." And it smacks Ben away with a tentacle.
Thwack.
And Johnny comes flying towards the alpha mollusk and unleashes a burst of flame on it and says, "Geez, buddy, even the space squids are cracking on you? That's gotta feel like a rather revolting new." "Don't worry about me, Johnny boy. I know a blowhard when I see one. Hold him still, Stretcho. Let me." But Ben gets smacked again with another tentacle.
Kathwack.
Yeah. "Okay, pal. I'm through holding back." There we go. "And I'll bet you can't guess what time it is now. It's..."
Scree!
And our scene shifts to the Baxter Building, home of the Fantastic Four, New York. And paint the picture for us here, Shane.
Yeah, sure. You have Ben leading them back into the Baxter building after leaving the negative zone. You have Johnny flying over his shoulder and Reed with his charts and stuff, figuring out what's going on. And Ben has a tentacle over his shoulder as like a trophy for slaying the alpha mollusk. Is that that's what it was called, right?
Yeah, no love for Sue?
I said Sue was walking in. She's just walking in like with Reed, but Reed was doing something and Johnny's flying in. Sue's just walking in like behind him doing nothing.
Oh, you sound like
This,
Stan Lee now.
well, she's not doing anything in this panel.
I'm just busting on you. Johnny says, "That went about as well as I expected. Better, actually. These spores we collected are going to save countless Orgolian lives." And Ben drops the tentacle down to the ground.
Splat.
"Okay, party people, I'm pooped. I'm gonna try and sleep for a week. Don't wake me unless Galactus shows up." And he hits the elevator button.
Ding.
"And I'm not talking about no Harold either. Don't wake me unless it's the real guy." And Ben arrives at his living quarters and take us through what he does here, Shane.
Yeah. So Ben walks in and he clearly picked up the mail on his way through and is greeted by his kitty cat and goes to feed the cat some dinner before he goes to get himself a shower and get that alpha mollusk stench and gook off of him.
And he mutters to himself, "Disgusting rock heap. What does he know?" And then he collapses into his bed at 8:33 a.m.
Thwumph.
And at 8:38 a.m.,
Knock, knock, knock.
Ben gets out of bed and puts on his robe. Susie, Reed,
Knock, knock, knock.
and he stares at the door and asks, Johnny? And a robotic voice comes from the opposite end of the door. Mr. Grimm? And Ben opens the door to find who, Shane?
Herbie.
And is Herbie alone?
No, he's brought in a ruffian.
Yeah, he seems to have him held up by the scruff of his collar, and he says, Mr. Grimm, I'm sorry to disturb you. We caught this man trying to sneak into the elevator. He says he's a friend of yours from back home. Hey, Benji. Hey, man, I don't know if you remember me. My name's Marty Flynn. We used to be kids together.
Slam.
As Ben closes the door. No, thank you, Herbie. Look, man, I'm sorry about when we were kids, but I really, whatever you're selling, I don't want any. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, it's my sister Shelley's kid. We can't find her. And Ben goes back to open the door where Herbie still is holding Marty Flynn by his collar. Shelley Flynn? Yeah, Shelley Washington now. I'll get my stuff. And we then come to our what would normally be considered a recap page, but I guess you could call it an introduction page this time around, Shane.
Yeah, that's a good way to call it, I guess.
And our summary reads Pilot Benjamin J. Grimm joined his friends Reed Richards, Susan Storm, and Johnny Storm on a fateful mission to outer space. When they were bombarded by cosmic rays, they gained incredible powers, and he became a rock-skinned monster. Now Ben is the super strong, ever-loving, blue-eyed member of the Fantastic Four. Through the years, he's protected the Earth from all manner of threats, explored unknown realms, struggled with his humanity, and built a family for himself. But once upon a time, Ben Grimm's past on Yancy Street caught up with the stony superhero known as the Thing. And we get the title of today's story, Shane.
The King of Yancy Street, Part 1.
And we turn our page, and what do we see here, Shane?
Was his name Matt, right? Matt Flynn?
No, Marty.
Marty. Matt Flynn was a quarterback for the Packers. That's right. Marty Flynn. We see Marty Flynn and Ben walking down the street.
And Ben's in that trademark trench coat and fedora.
It's pretty trademark at this point.
And Marty is dogging his trail, saying, Listen, Benji, man, we really appreciate this. Shelly and me, I mean. She's a mess right now, dude. But I told her, old Benji Grimm from the neighborhood wouldn't let her down. Wouldn't let her kid down. Especially after the cops. We talked to them. These cops don't do nothing. They don't know what the hell happened. She went off to school one morning and then she never came back. Been gone for 2 weeks. Cops think she up and ran off, but this kid, you gotta understand, this kid was a happy kid. She didn't have nothing to run away from, you know? But then the neighborhood guys, they start hearing about all kinds of people just up and running off. Not just kids, grown folks, old people, whoever, just up and disappearing. And listen, man, I know we weren't friends back in school, so I appreciate this. I appreciate you helping me. I ain't helping you. I know about what you say about me all over town. Your sister, though, she used to be nice to me. Anyway, my pal Joey, he tells me he knows a guy who knows a guy. Joey works in the garment district. He's in textiles, and he knows a guy named Mel, fashion guy. And Marty opens a storefront door for Ben. Mel drinks here. Supposedly he knows something. Been talking about people disappearing. That's all you got? And as they enter, a bell goes off, Shane.
Ding.
And just to clarify, this guy Mel, we're gonna find him at this bar at 9:30 in the morning. Is he an early riser, or has he been here all night? And if he's been up all night drinking, how in the heck are we gonna... Wait, is that him in the corner? And Ben points to a back booth, and what does he see, Shane?
See a guy in a booth, passed out, has these shoulder spikes and a metal rocketeer like face mask.
Your buddy Mel is the gladiator? Yeah, Melvin Potter. Why? Is that a problem? I mean, he doesn't really have superpowers. He's not wearing those wrist blade thingies. I'd still rather not have any issues with him inside this family owned establishment. We're not going to have any issues. He's friends with Joey. And Marty leans down and taps Melvin Potter on the shoulder. Excuse me, Mr. Potter? And Melvin pops awake with a start and yells, They did it. They put things in me. They did it too. Of course they did it. Of course they. Anything for his pleasure. Anything for. You know that better than anyone. And Ben leans in, trying to calm Melvin down. Geez, take it easy, friend. Nobody's trying to put anything in you. Everything's going to be okay. We just need to figure out what happened to a little girl. And he places his hand on Melvin's shoulder. Golem! Monster! Anything for his pleasure. Anything for. For who? Melvin, I've been up all night fighting space squids. I haven't slept, and I'm running out of patience. And what does Melvin do here, Shane?
He smacks Ben's hand right off his shoulder.
And more surprisingly, what does he do next?
With a kaboom, lays Mr. Grimm out across the bar.
Yeah, he sends Ben flying into a flashback where we see a group of kids gathered around the Yancy Street sign, and they're chanting, Benji's got a girlfriend, Benji's got a girlfriend, Benji's got a girlfriend. And this young girl pushes her way through the crowd as we see Ben picking himself off the ground, and she yells, He does not! Back off him! Marty, leave him alone! But Ben is knocked back down to the ground again. Due to what, Shane?
He gets hit with a solid thud. It looks like a kick and punch to the ground at the same time.
You hear that, Benji? Your girlfriend thinks we ought to let you alone. I think you ought to let him alone too. And who says that, Shane?
Danny Grimm. Was that his older brother?
Yes, it is. Who's leaning against a parked car with his arms folded. Or you could hit him again and see what me and my boys do to twerps like you who terrorize my kid brother. And the crowd begins to dissipate as many of the kids start yelling, Run! Go! Let's get out of here. That's Danny Grimm from the Yancy Street gang. And Danny walks up to Ben and begins to help him up. You okay? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Those kids were just stronger than me. I couldn't. Those guys? Nah. They were just bullies. Weak. Strong guys don't pick on little guys. Strong people lift little guys up. At least, that's how we do it on Yancy Street. And back in the present, Ben begins to pick himself up off of the bar floor. Melvin, geez Louise, you been working out? And he charges towards the gladiator and engages him in a professional wrestling-esque test of strength. Because, whew, I thought you didn't have any real superpowers. And he manages to throw Melvin back across the bar.
Yeah, with a wham.
So how come you can fight like this? You get bit by a radioactive gorilla or something? And Melvin comes leaping back, both arms raised as he intends to bring his fists down upon Ben's shoulders. Put things in me. They put, yeah, you said that before. Crawling under my skin, he says as he hammers away on Ben's back. Who put things in you, Melvin? Your, ouch. Your friend Joey says you know all about the people disappearing. Joey? Joe! And he begins to pummel Ben down to the ground with a multitude of punches.
Yeah, wham, slam, wham.
And Ben puts his hands up to try to reason with Melvin and says, Buddy, I never even met Joey. Monster! and he continues to pummel on Ben's chest.
Wham, 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 wham.
Melvin, holy Pete. Melvin, we're just trying to find out about the missing people. I don't even need to know about all the missing people. Youch! We're just trying to find one girl, a little girl, my buddy's niece. I saw a girl, monster. You know better than anyone. The girl and Joey and the king and the clown took me to the tower, put things under my skin. Which tower? And Melvin drives another fist down towards Ben's face. The Empire, St. Pat's, Cordoba. Monster, you know better than. But what happened, Shane?
Oh, Ben catches his hand with a nice crunch.
Okay. And Ben picks himself off the floor, still not releasing Melvin's fist. That's probably as good as we're gonna do here, right? What? What are you? Ouch! Here's a thing you learn when you have super strength long enough, Melvin. You try not to just fully unleash when you're inside of somebody else's place of business. And speaking of which, describe the background of this scene right now, Shane.
The bartender is hiding behind the bar. The guy that was sitting there when Ben walked in is like trying to get out of the way of all of this destruction because it looks like tables and chairs and broken pieces of lumber just all over the floor.
Which definitely works towards Ben's point of just wanton destruction of property. He's come a long way in 60 years. But Gladiator responds to him with, You know better. And he picks up a table leg and goes to swing it at Ben. Monster! But Ben catches him with a backhand that sends him flying through the bar's storefront window
Crack. Ooh.
until you absolutely have to, or you end up causing all kinds of property damage. Part of having power is knowing when to use it. And we see Melvin laying outside of the bar in a big crater, steam rising from beneath him. And Ben walks back into the bar to collect his coat and hat and says to the bartender, Ma'am, I'm very sorry about your wall. Here, take my card. I work with guys who know how to fix things. I'm going to make sure this gets taken care of right away. But if you don't hear from me, the bartender looks down at the card, and what does it say, Shane?
Benjamin J. Grimm, Baxter Building, New York, New York. Outer Space Adventurer.
It has a nice little Fantastic Four logo behind it.
Yeah, it's cute. I like that it's an outer space adventure and not like superhero or anything else.
I also really dig that as the title that he chose for himself. And putting on his hat, Ben exits the bar and looks to Marty. Come on, Marty, keep up. What? What just happened? Your guy Melvin said Empire State, St. Pat's. He did? It looks like we're heading back to Midtown. And we see the name of the bar that Ben and Marty have just left. And what is it, Shane?
It's Josie's bar.
And for those true believers who may be unfamiliar, can you explain to them the significance of Josie's Bar?
This is the bar that Matt Murdock frequents and other super people.
Yeah, in the comics, it's more or less the Hell's Kitchen underworld hub bar. And the gentleman who is sitting at the bar looks at Josie and says, That that was a hell of a thing. You all right, Joe? Just another day in paradise. Is it is it cool if I use the phone? Sure thing, hon. Whatever you need, she says as she picks up a mop. And we can definitely tell this takes place in the past now, Shane, because this gentleman using the phone, what does it feature?
Because it has the circle dial phone.
It's called a rotary dial phone.
That's what it is, a rotary dial. You don't know because I used a rotary dial in 2007 because I had some friends that didn't have newer phones than that.
Okay, so here I'm gonna tell you a quick story here about a rotary phone. So when I worked at the burrito shop back in 2011, we had a rotary dial phone we used, and we went through a group of new hires, and this one new hire took an order but for delivery but forgot to take the address, so they needed to call this person back. And they go to make the call. They pick up the receiver. They look down at the phone, and I just hear them go, "Nate." I'm trying to make burritos here. I'm like, yeah, what's up? And I look over, and they're just staring at the phone, and their hand is like out gesturing. What do I do with this? And I just let out, like I couldn't help myself. It was a tense situation because I had a number of orders to fulfill. And I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? Because now on top of that, I need to teach somebody how to use a rotary dial phone.
So this one is one of the newer ones that has like that had the dial tone in it. The rotary phone I used had the side receiver. So it didn't have a dial tone. You had to pick it up and dial immediately. There was no pause. Like you had to do everything as fast as possible or you didn't make your phone call.
Amazing.
It was from 19 like 41. It had wood metal.
Alexander Graham Bell made the first phone call with it.
I'm not lying, dude. It's what I had to use
I
to.
I would never accuse you of lying.
So I called my parents to pick me up from my friend's house on this phone after we were wrenching on a snowmobile all day, and my hands are freezing, and I'm like,
And the more difficult task between the two was making the phone call.
"Oh, absolutely, that was much easier to pull apart engine parts than make the phone call."
Wonderful. Anyway, going back to our story here, we see the gentleman at the bar holding the receiver up to his mouth, and we have a close up on the lower end of his face. And it looks pretty familiar, doesn't it, Shane?
Yeah, it looks like the guy from the beginning of the thing making that call on the old CB radio.
And he says into the phone, "Sir, I think you got a problem. Uh, a situation. Uh, he came in here and he was asking all sorts of and throwing people around and we get a glimpse of the New York skyline and of a very particular tower. Can you describe what this tower looks like, Shane?"
Sure, it kind of steps up and it has a bunch of balconies on it, and while everything else is black, this is bright white and stands out in the crowd for its luminescence.
I love this design for this building. And from within its walls, we hear this person begin to respond on this phone call. "Turk, slow down. Who's asking questions? What's the problem?" "This one's big, sir. It's it's Grimm." And we see through the window of this tower whom on the other end of the phone, Shane.
Oh, none other than Kingpin himself, Mr. Wilson Fisk.
Next, Kingpin. All right, Shane. That does it for Thing Volume 4, Number 1. Your thoughts?
I have notes. So for me, I wish that first page would have been later on. Like I wish that first page was after this page.
So you don't like when something starts in media res, is basically what you're telling me.
Yeah, I hated it.
So here's my retort, and I might be wrong about this. Maybe we'll have the chance to eventually get some clarification on it. But I dig it. And the reason why I dig it is because have you ever seen the movie The Warriors?
Like one time, probably 20 years ago.
Okay, still great movie. Highly would recommend revisiting it. This feels very inspired by The Warriors, this initial CB radio call, and I think it sets up the story in a very similar way. Because frankly, they're very similar stories. But I get it if you don't like when things start in media res. So it's just not for some people. I, for one, love it.
Yeah, I mean, I could have started with like the end, and then we tell me from, the Tarantino way. I can do that. I just didn't like this. That threw me out initially. I know that I've read all of this series, so I know that I like the rest of the books. This first book for me just moves really slow, which I did have in my notes. That like I do love this series. I do enjoy it. This first book is just always my hardest part to get through. I also have in here that it's nice to know that Ben finally grew to realize that property damage is bad, even if he still partakes in it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like where he used to just, in the first 10
Oh
issues of
yeah.
Fantastic Four, automatically just go for the property damage. Now he's had years to reflect on it and grow as a person.
Yeah, so those were my key takeaways of this. Page one, I would have liked that to be moved elsewhere. Like it could have been thrown in between those panels of him talking to Kingpin for me, and that would have still worked. It just didn't work for me as like a way to start this story off.
Again, I looked at it as a callback to a cinematic classic, and maybe that's why it worked for me. I don't see a problem with it, but I can get where it's not for some people. People's brains function differently. So
Yeah.
overall, like I really like this story. I really like this opening. It's the Warriors. It's the detective story as well, which, I think more than any other Fantastic Four member, Ben fits into that mold really well, especially, walking around in his fedora and coat. It's also coming home, the past coming back to greet you with a face from Ben's past coming up and bringing him back to his Yancy Street roots. It's a good setup for what I think is a solid solo thing story. Plus, I mean, Ben's the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, and we've seen some of those heavy hitters that are coming on the cover. Be cool to see Ben throw down with them. So I'm excited to keep going through this one.
So, do you want to get into the our Fantastic Four of the week?
Oh, absolutely.
And you lead us off this week, buddy.
I definitely do. So, start us off with Fantastic Frame. My favorite panel from this book is page 10, panel 1. And that is Ben and Marty walking down a New York City street. Because sometimes it's all about the quiet moments. If you take away the word balloons from this panel, you have Ben Grimm living his life in Manhattan just like anyone else. With the dialogue, you have Ben as a hard-boiled detective working a case and being dogged by an annoyance. Just kind of gives it a really film noir aspect to it that I can't help but dig as a former film student and whatnot. Just really speaks to me there. So I didn't need to go for anything bombastic this week. Sometimes you just need Ben in his hat and coat walking down the street.
Fair enough. I love the little touches that like in on the dumpster, it still has like graffiti, like there's the bullseye, there was Brooke was here, what it was spelt wrong.
It's New York in the 1980s for sure, before the 90s hit and they came in with all that urban renewal. How about you, buddy? What did you decide to go with for your Fantastic Frame?
So 16, panel 5. The one where Ben's like got his hands up, kind of pleading at Melvin to stop just beating him up before Ben does something that he's going to regret. But I really went with this because I really like the shadow going there and Ben's face, and just like you can see Ben's face is like, how am I going to do this without hurting this person?
Yeah, and I think this is actually a really great testament to who Ben is because, to your point, Ben's taken the beating. He knows he can withstand it. What he doesn't know is what Melvin can withstand. And he's trying to de-escalate the situation, even from a very non-dominant position here.
Yeah, I just went with this because I really like the shadowing on Ben because they still even had like they were like did the cool thing where they left a little bit of the orange in between the shadow to break up to show that there was a little bit of light spectrum going in there. And this morning I watched a whole thing of David Finch going through shadowing, so it was sticking in my head.
And if you're going to watch any artist about shadowing, David Finch is definitely the one to watch.
Well, you know who he studied? Mike Magnolia.
Yeah, I actually did know that. Yeah, because I believe his philosophy on it was sometimes it's all about what you don't show.
There was just certain things in like the crosshatch and stuff. So the crosshatch on that finger there, how it's just the little tiny bumps on the first finger right reaching out to you, just showing that it's like a really abrupt thing to the front edge of that. Like these are all things that people have to think about while they're drawing and then inking to make sure that it comes in and renders out to be a perfect thing. And it's just a really nicely rendered picture, and that's why I went with that.
Yeah, and this is probably where the benefit of Justin Mason not only drawing the book but inking the book really comes into play. But,
Uh,
here's the thing. Do we even have to ask you about your grim grumbling after you talked about the beginning of this story?
Yeah, you do, because it is not the beginning of the story.
All right. Well, what was your grim grumble for this issue?
I guess it's technically page 3, uh, panel 4, and it's Sue's mouth.
What's wrong with Sue's mouth?
It is so awkward. It is so awkward. It is an awkwardly shaped mouth. The teeth are it's it's just not how that should look. No one speaks like that, and the teeth wouldn't be like that. Is just that's a very weirdly rendered. A lot of this book is very pretty. Don't get me wrong. That is the one thing that like, you know how we always we're looking at the Jack stuff and like we say the king misses once in a while. I just gave him a lot of praise on that one for all the cool stuff. That's a miss.
What do you mean? I don't really understand your meaning.
Yeah, I still can't see your teeth, buddy.
Uh,
Yeah, no, it's impossible.
maybe it's, you know,
No, no,
I don't think
no.
it's that bad.
Yeah. What
Perfectly.
was what was yours, bud?
So, yeah, I can't do that the rest of the episode. Uh, so my grim crumble was actually page one, panel four.
Oh, the Serpent Society, because they're not all together
Yeah,
in the
like I said, as a longtime fan and reader of Captain America, I can tell you that that Serpent Society lineup has never existed.
till now. It
Well,
exists now.
it exists now, but it's just one of those things like I really want to place this story somewhere solidly in 616 continuity. And unfortunately, I just because of that Serpent Society lineup, it keeps me from doing it. And I mean, I guess it's on me. No one else cares about the Serpent Society, just me. But uh still, it's the thing that I saw that and it just pulled me out. That's all. You know, it's a very minuscule thing for literally any other reader.
So I knew it was the Serpent Society when I was reading through. How many people reading this do you think knew that it was the Serpent Society?
I mean, I'm probably a fair amount of long time Marvel readers. I mean, the Serpent Society isn't used the way that it used to be. I think
Well,
the last time that I really saw them being used to any degree was in maybe 2015, and they'd changed their name to Serpent Solutions by that point. But if you've been around Marvel for the past 40 years, you'll figure it out.
I'm just saying because think about it, this came out last year with the movie. There was people picking up Fantastic Four related stuff for the first time going into the movie because we do know that there's always a little bump of readers with the MCU stuff every time. Now it's not as big as it was back in the day, but there always is like a new person that comes on when the new MCU stuff comes into play. We've even seen it within our own friend group.
Yeah,
So like there's probably some people that didn't even know who that was when I looked at that.
they are definitely named later on in the series, though. I do know that much. But hey, if you're putting out a call to different villain groups, and again, call back to the Warriors, at least in my mind, you're putting out a call to different groups of supervillains. And in the 80s, Wrecking Crew, Serpent Society, I mean, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants at that point was being run by the US government as Freedom Force. So villain teams were a little few and far between at this point.
Okay. So well, that leads us down to our cosmic cliffhanger, buddy. What was your cosmic cliffhanger?
So if this series does one thing really well, it's ending each issue on a cliffhanger. So there was a part of me that was like, hey, go with the last page. However, I didn't. So I actually ended up going with page four, panel five, where Ben charges the Alpha Mollusk because I could not wait initially to see how he was going to kick this thing's ass. But then, oh, wait, we don't see it. However, there's still plenty of action to be had later on in the book, so I'm not complaining about that. But there was a part of me that was like, "Oh, this is such a great setup for a clobbering time with him just whooping this alpha mollusk." And instead, we just see them coming back to the bastard belly, and he has a tentacle. I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but I was, left in suspense at least initially with that panel. How about you?
All right, so we're gonna go back to page 1. Panel 5.
Ah, yes. Well, he let go of the CB button.
No, it's just because. So, who is it going to be? Tough guys. The last word bubble there was like, all right, where are we going with this? And, well, the rest of this book kind of disappoints from that point on. But, like,
Come on, the rest of the book. This
I
is
meant, I meant like from that. I don't mean it in a way like you took it. I meant it doesn't resolve it by the end of this book.
I don't mean it in the way you took it like a sane person. Just okay. So the next page let you down because you wanted it to proceed from that point as opposed to throwing you back into the past 4.5 hours.
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool. I think it's very important we clarify that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
Because I really do enjoy the back half of this. And I bitched about this page enough. So like that was the one thing I did like I was like, I just want to answer for that.
all right, cool. Glad we got that sorted. Uh, so, all said and done, who was your most fantastic player for
I
this
mean it
issue?
has to be Ben. There's no other option.
Yeah, absolutely, completely with you there, 100%. If only for the fact that he's exhausted and he still goes on the search for a child. That, it just shows the kind of character that Ben Grimm is, puts aside his differences with his old high school bully, and he's literally just looking for a vulnerable and defenseless child. So, yeah, stand-up guy, can't really give it to anybody else.
He clobbers the alpha mollusk. He goes on this journey. He, as much as he can, humanely stops Melvin from just absolutely destroying the bar and hurting himself. Because imagine punching Ben is not good for your hands.
Well, absolutely not.
So, was yours also Ben?
Yeah, mine was also Ben.
All right.
Yeah, couldn't be anybody else. Well, true believers, if you want to join us on this journey and be able to look at Justin Mason's beautiful art for yourself, the story has been collected in the trade paperback The Thing, The King of Yancy Street, which was released back in January of this year, 2026. I'm sure you can also find the back issues floating around at your local comic shop. It is also available on Marvel Unlimited. Well, Shane, are you interested to hear what we're covering next week?
Yeah, what are we doing next week, bud?
So we will be going back to the early 1980s and John Byrne with his work on Fantastic Four, Volume 1, number 237.
I'm excited for that. I still can't pick up that omnibus yet, so I'm gonna
No,
have to. I think it's 12 pounds.
man, I can't wait until you're all healed up, pal. I feel bad for you.
Let me double check. I know it's one of the heavier ones because that's a hefty boy. It's right there.
Hmm,
So maybe if I take the dust jacket off, it'll
maybe.
be.
Good luck with that.
Ah.
True Believers, as always, your feedback is very important to us. We would appreciate it if you left us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or a comment or review on Spotify. We are also available on YouTube, where you can also leave your comments. Regardless of your listening platform, we would ask that you subscribe to us because that way we show up in your feed each and every week. You can join us on Facebook at the Fantastic Four Fancast, where we would love if you joined in on some FF related discussions and shared Fantastic Four content. Please just adhere to the group rules and be respectful of one another. You can also follow us on Instagram at Fan4Fancast. That is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST. And finally, you can contact us by email at fan4fancast@gmail.com with any feedback or suggestions. And that is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST@gmail.com. Shane, do you have any final thoughts you would like to leave the true believers with this week?
I really do recommend finding this book and reading it. Even if you just have unlimited, I would say own it because it's a good book to have on the shelf. It's quick read and it's is it 5 issues? The
Yep,
whole
five
series?
issues. 5 issues.
Yeah. It's always nice to have one of those quick books that you can just grab and read in a weekend. Sometimes it's just nice to get out of your head for a little while.
I went through the whole series in an hour this morning, but still worth every penny. It's a good time. Well, Shane, thanks again for joining me on another fantastic voyage, so to speak. Looking forward to doing this again with you next week, and we hope that you will join us as well, true believers. For Shane Murray, I'm Nate Charles. Till next time, stay fantastic.